Welcome to ITP News. I'm one of your leading anchors, Aaliyah, and today we are introducing a new segment on our show called The Eye, where a few of our field reporters go into the community to discuss criminology. Today's subject, eyewitness memory, and all things connected to it. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the program.
Welcome to the first edition of The Eye. I'm Annabelle, and I'm here to bring to light a connection not often made in minds of those outside of the psychology or criminology community. Joining me will be Aaliyah. Her interest in the subject was one of the main reasons we were excited to bring The Eye to ITP.
Thank you so much for having me. I have to admit, I've watched a few documentaries, and I've always wondered what goes on behind the cameras in times like that.
Funny enough, today we're not going to be talking about the victims of the crimes. We're going to be talking about those who witnessed them. They're called eyewitnesses. We're going to take a deep dive into if violence or personality can affect them.
What do you mean?
Think about it this way. If something traumatizes you, you remember it, right?
Yeah, down to the last detail.
The study we're pulling from today possesses that maybe violence and personality can influence memory. Have you ever dramatized something in your head? I know I do it all the time.
It's never intentional, but yes, you amp it up in your head.
So isn't it a reasonable thought to propose that maybe those who witness crimes might be affected by what they're seeing? Like how he was frustrated and bumped the wall pretty hard. Can it turn into he was so mad he slammed into the wall?
I think I'm getting it. Do we have any evidence of this? I'd like to think we can trust
eyewitness. You can't
eyewitness.
trust an eyewitness. Not all those who recall a violent event are adding or avoiding details. An article by Laura Pajan and Dave Walsh writes up that under violent conditions, personality domains of emotionality and openness appeared to be related with decreased memory accuracy, whereas conscientiousness appeared to be related with increased memory accuracy.
Why was this even thought of? Why did they want to study this?
Well, there have been many cases of mistaken identities, which can turn an investigation upside down if they were relying heavily on the account of an eyewitness. We're going to get into two separate areas that seem to be able to affect eyewitness accounts: violence and personality. And we'll also have our field reporters speaking to our community members and getting the thoughts of the public.
I'm getting excited. Go on.
In 1981, by Clifford and Holland, concluded that if a physical injury took place, that memory is less accurate than if no physical injury took place. A later theory founded a weak...
I yawned. You're so fucking mean. Continue. Your legs are so prickly.
Stop!
Go.
Well...
Sit up straight.
Well, a study in 1981 by Clifford and Holland concluded that if a physical injury took place, memory is less accurate than if no physical injury took place. A later theory founded a weak but positive correlation between the level of violence and the accuracy of the accounts. They examined memory performance of victims of robbery, sexual assault, and rape. Because sexual crimes are known to be more high stress than a robbery, they concluded that discrepancies may be due to the different levels of violence that was witnessed.
It makes sense that stress can factor into memory. When I'm stressed out, I feel like I can barely handle even one thing. The rest just flies out of my brain.
Let's watch Janaya converse with the community members on violence and its correlation to memory.
I love hearing the different opinions on subjects from our community members. There were some really good points made.
I agree, and I think it's a perfect segue into the second part of our program, personality and its correlation to the memory of eyewitnesses. The same article by Pajan and Walsh stated that previous studies have found that some individuals' differences in personality traits, such as memory, attention to detail, intellectual curiosity, or self-control, influence memory.
So if you're naturally inquisitive or organizationally driven, you're more likely to remember clearly?
It's like If you pay attention more to your surroundings, you're more likely to see if something's off than if you're distracted on your phone or talking to someone. It makes sense that if you pay attention most of the time, your memory is more intact because you're focusing more on the details. Extroversion is one of the most studied domains, but research has produced mixed results. Ward and Loftus and Airy and Umek found that personality traits of extroversion increased memory performance. Stay with us while Janaya talks to select community members about personality and its connection to eyewitness accounts, or even just memory.
Now to Janaya with the interview.
Hi, can you state your name, please?
Alyssa.
All right, Alyssa, I have a few questions for you. The first one is, do you think witnesses are trustworthy in criminal investigations?
It depends.
And what do you mean by that?
It depends because it depends on what kind of what's the word again?
Case?
Witness. No, it depends on what kind of witness
they
it is.
are. Okay.
Because if it's a witness to the if their family member is one of the witnesses, like let's say something happens with the family, and they're obviously gonna like exaggerate the story if it's a family member because
right.
you know they're gonna be like, oh my god.
So what if you were just a random person and you witnessed something off the street?
If you're a bystander
right.
witnessing something, I feel like that's more reliable, if anything. So yeah, I feel like that would be a good thing if it's like not someone that's in the family,
related,
somebody walking down,
or even a friend too, because
exactly.
sometimes the opinions can be biased, and depending on how, which will lead me into my next question, how violent or how non-violent what happened was, whatever the crime that was done onto somebody or something, the memory can, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry.
The question near you.
The memory can be like altered a little bit. So the next question is, do you think emotions contribute to what eyewitnesses put out?
Yes.
Why?
Because like I said earlier, if it's a family member, then they can definitely exaggerate it if it's something more so violent. Okay, like if there was a murder happening and then it was like a friend or a family member, they're gonna exaggerate it. They're gonna be super emotional and
of course.
Yeah, it's just gonna be super exaggerated. Whereas if it was just a regular bystander, then they would just speak truthfully because they have no reason to side with one of them.
Okay.
Be biased in any way.
All right, so let's do a quick comparison. Say if one of the cases, let's compare the different cases. Say one of the cases was like a robbery, right? And you were a bystander and you saw this robbery, or you were even a victim of the robbery. Do you think because you say, for example, you were anxious, you were scared during this robbery or whatever was happening, do you think, or you just were unaware of everything, do you think that can alter your memory also? Like, so the last question is, when physical violence is involved, it tends to increase the memory of the witness to be recalled, but how much of that is exaggerated because of how traumatic the event is for the witness? I think you answered that kind of already.
Let me see.
Yeah, you can read it yourself.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like if something more scarier like that is happening, especially to you, and you have to go in there and explain it, or in any way you were like involved accidentally, either way, I feel like that would boost your memory a lot better because you actually remember what's going on and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right, yeah, because it was so vivid.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So if something were to happen and like let's just say that you see someone stole like a lady's purse, and then you're like, oh well, identify the guy, and you don't really remember because you're like, it just happened.
It just happened.
Really
yeah.
Good. Whereas if something were to happen and you got hit in the way or something like that, you'd obviously remember what the person was, what they looked like, and things like that.
Okay, so do you think that we should continue using eyewitnesses for certain cases, or should we start using different like types of machines, like the SIAs that I read in this article about, lie detectors? What do you think? Like,
I think we should do both. I feel like having,
or do you think it depends on the case?
I think either way it's both, because having an eyewitness is always an extra. It's always something that would be helpful in any way.
On top of the evidence that's already there too, yeah.
So like on your little paper thing, I saw like rape victims and stuff. Like obviously if you've seen someone, like if you've seen a guy doing something being weird in any type of way, but you thought it was just like a normal type of thing, and then later on you see something happen with her on the news and things like that, you would obviously come forward and be like, hey, like, I saw this and I saw that, and that would boost the case.
Right.
And so will, like, all of the rape kits and things like that, and getting DNA testing. So I think they should both come together.
Yeah, I agree too. All right, thank you so much. Appreciate you for your time.
Hi, and welcome back to The Eye. Today we are introducing a special guest, Riri, and he's going to help us talk about eyewitness memory. After witnessing a crime, the eyewitness may be called to identify the suspect in a lineup.
This can cause stress to the person witnessing the crime or being questioned by the law enforcement.
Stress can alter the accuracy of eyewitness recollection and suspect identification. The most common mistaken convictions have been incorrect eyewitnesses.
The Department of Psychology by the University of Cape Town found the medium stress groups performed better when identifying the target in a lineup compared to those in high stress groups.
The highlights the significance of more research into this area and the eyewitness state of mind during a criminal investigation.
This knowledge is important because it can help with policymaking and legal cases in the future.
Most importantly, it can help police and prosecutors not mistakenly convict the wrong person. Thank you for tuning in. Say bye.
Bye.